All right, so we just picked up some ND and CPL combo filters from Freewell. Now these things won't break the bank. They're about $135 for a full set. That's pretty different than the $360 you'd have to spend to buy them from DJI. So the question is, are they worth it? So we're gonna take a look at these filters and if the glass is any good on them. Stay tuned. First thing I want to talk about is how do you put the filters on your Mavic 3, and it's actually a fairly simple process. Now I folded it up, and you don't have to do this. I just find it's a little bit more stable, and you're just going to just kind of twist and pull, right? It's pretty simple. All right, so we see these little white lines here. Freewell says the ideal spot is just to line them up, right? That's for the polarizer inside, but if you find it's off a little bit, you can kind of dial it. Or if your reflective surface is at a different sort of angle, you can go ahead and move this to where you find it's best. Polarizers are great when you're flying over water or reflective surfaces, and they just kind of make the sky pop a little bit more. So it's kind of nice that these are both ND and polarized filters. Now this is actually the all-day pack from Freewell, which is a set of 8 filters, right? There's the standard 4, 8, 16, and 32. I got the 8 on the Mavic right now. You can see that I just went ahead and put my standard Mavic glass right in here. We sell this as a 4-pack, and this is probably what most people need for $72. If you opt for the all-day pack, you get an additional 4 filters. So we have a 64, just a circular polarized filter. Then we have an ND1000 and an ND2000. So if you're flying directly into the sun on a solar eclipse, you'd want one of these. That's a joke. Actually, they're pretty good for long exposure photographs, right? So if you're looking to take some pictures of like things like waterfalls, moving water, these long exposure ND filters do a nice job of adding a cool effect. Just kind of smooths out the water. So to pick up both sets, it's going to cost you $135. Not a bad deal, and certainly cheaper than going directly to DJI. So if you picked up these filters, when do you actually want to use them? Well, as a general rule of thumb, let me just give you a quick breakdown. ND4 is good for filming something like sunset or sunrise, where you do have some light, but it's not a whole lot. The ND8 that I have on here is probably what I use the most, and this is for partly cloudy to cloudy days. My ND16 is for a bright day, and then anything on super bright days, really sunny, you're going to want to go with 32 or maybe 64. Generally, the rule of thumb is 2 times your shutter speed. What does any of this mean? Well, if I'm filming at 30 frames a second, then generally I want my exposure to be 1/60th. That gives the correct motion blur. Things tend to be blurry in the corners as the drone moves, and the faster you move, the more ends up being blurred. And that's kind of how the natural human eye sees things. If you have a super high shutter speed, then everything is in focus and it just kind of looks a little unnatural. I've actually found that I really like shooting at 1/30th at 30 frames a second. It gives you a little bit more blur. I think it looks better that way. So we'll take a look at some of that in video as well as photos. Now, why would we do photos? And that's actually just to kind of look at the glass. So what we did is I put this drone up at a pretty consistent spot, and I took a picture with a handful of different filters at a couple of different F numbers, right? So I had it wide open at f2.8, and then I closed it up at f11. So you can kind of see, well, is this glass doing anything to the photos? Then we'll take a look at some video. All right, so we're going to start with some pictures. I'm going to manipulate both the F number and filters on and off, and you can kind of see pretty good, right? It doesn't matter if I have a filter, no filter, f2.8, f11. I think all these pictures are pretty good, and I think that's a testament to not just the glass, but also how stable this Mavic 3 really is. So you can kind of judge for yourself. Okay, so to manipulate some of these values, the ISO, the shutter speed, the aperture, you're going to tap the little camera icon in the lower right-hand corner. And then you can kind of tap on each one of those values and adjust it to where you want to go. Now, after the first flight, I actually fixed the ISO and the shutter speed so that they were consistent for the flights. Now, this first flight, I didn't bother. The shutter, you can see, was super fast, between 1/1000th of a second, 1/640th of a second, which still is going to produce a pretty clear image when you freeze frame. But just note that I did fix the shutter speed and the ISO for each one of the shots, the videos with the ND filter. So quick video here, no filters, and you can see everything is going to be pretty much crystal clear even when I freeze frame. Everything just remains clear, and it just starts to look a little bit unnatural in the video. At least that's what I think, and so do a lot of other people. Now here I have an ND8, and the shutter speed is actually 1/60, which is supposed to be, this is what people recommend, and you do get a little bit more motion blur in the corner. So as we get closer to this, I'm going to go ahead and freeze. So you can see there's a little bit of blur in that lower left-hand corner, and that is what adding an ND filter will do to help you get that correct shutter speed. Here I'm using a ND16 to get me 1/130th second exposure. And this is my personal preference. I like it just a little bit more. You get a little bit more motion blur, as you see in this lower left-hand corner. But again, this is all a personal preference thing. Use ND filters to help you as you so choose. Hey, if you're looking to buy some filters, we'd love it if you use the affiliate links down below. They help support this channel. And if you're thinking, gosh, these are some good accessories, I got some more coming for this Mavic 3, so make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We also give away a drone once a month to a lucky Patreon subscriber. So if you want a free drone, make sure you check out the info in the description down below. Hey, good luck everyone, and happy flying.